Okay. This is Maverick Games basic C++ tutorial part 1. It's a bit late, but I'm gonna try to do one of these as often as I can. Record it before I go to bed, upload while I sleep. So, oh, I forgot to delete that. Oops. Don't worry about that one. But anyway, this is Visual Studio 2012 Ultimate. You should be able to get 2012 some version on your own. I have a tutorial elsewhere that you can look at for that. It shouldn't be that difficult to find. Okay, so C++ is not nearly as scary as some people seem to think. The first thing you should know is, at least in 2012, you don't need to know what this does just yet, or why it does it, perhaps, but this line here, SystemPause, that will keep your, well, I'll just show you what it does, and then you'll understand why. Let me just let this run real quick. This doesn't do anything yet. I'll explain more or less what each of these are for real quick in a second here. Okay, see this little window here? It's the console window. Comes up if you try for a command line or anything like that. But it looks like this. A change in Visual Studio from, I believe, 2008 onward was whenever you launched debug mode in a console app. This is a console app. The videos you've seen before, those are Windows applications, which means I have to go through a very long and trying process to get anything to happen. Console applications are how we're going to start, because that's how I started, and they are significantly easier to start working with, because you can output stuff already, and it's very easy. But if you don't put the system pause there, this will come up and then go away. Basically instantaneously, so you won't be able to see whatever happened, or whatever you output to the console, and we'll get to that in a second here. But press any key to continue. It means literally press any key and you're fine. It doesn't do anything important, just know that. Okay, so right up here I have pound include. One thing I probably should show you guys at least how to get to this point. This is your Solution Explorer. You can find it a variety of ways. Let's see, how would you probably go about this? You'll notice I'm missing a few things up here. This is a fairly customized user interface, but let's see, View, Solution Explorer. There you go. That's how you get to this. Mine's on Autohide, so whenever I click anything or click anywhere, it goes away. Some people like to keep it out. I don't. I used to, but when you get to coding gigantic projects like you've seen on my channel and on this website, it pretty much is just always in the way. So you get it and stuff. So where to start? You can it'll bring up a thing and you can name it whatever you want. I recommend just use the default stuff, except for a few things. While we're at it, let's go ahead and do a file, new project. This is what you would do. You'd hit file, new project. You're gonna hit this console app, .NET framework. Don't worry about that. This is console app. This is what you want for this beginning bit. This is what most of mine end up becoming, but it's not important. Just make sure you have console app, and I'm gonna just call it test app thingy. I'm never probably gonna use this, but I'll probably open it for something. Okay. So just name it whatever you want. It's not really important. I'm just going to hit OK. Eventually it'll come up with this. The application wizard thingy. So hit next. keep it as a console app, precompiled header, and the SDL thing. I think precompiled header is what usually gives me a bunch of junk that is very, very irritating, so make sure you click this to turn it off. And just for good measure, empty project. Trust me, you won't be missing anything important for now. So, hit finish, and it'll come up with more or less where I was. You'll notice I don't have a main or anything up here. So, to get to there, you hit that or open your Solution Explorer somehow. Source files, right click, let's see here, add new item, .cpp. I'm not sure if you can name this anything, but I always just, for this tutorial, I'm going to call it main. Okay. Now if you hit this arrow thing, so the debug thing or anything like that, if you do that now, it won't work. That is because Windows, or yes, Windows really, will be searching for a function called main. Not sure if it cares if it's capitalized or not. I always use lowercase. So for now, you don't need to know what void is, or main, or much of anything right now. We're just getting this stuff set up. Oh, you probably can't see that. My default font size isn't very big. Don't worry about that. That's a plugin. It pops up when I hold Control, which is how I made this bigger. So if you have old eyes or something, hold Control and then use the scroll wheel on your mouse, and you can change the font size without going through any complicated settings, which is very helpful. Also, line numbers, try to figure out how to get those. Usually searching or help menus also work for those, but those are very helpful for debugging. So, earlier you saw this system. I don't think it matters if it's on pause or not, but I'm gonna, or if it's caps or not. I just use caps because that's how I first did this. Oh. Maybe, I'm thinking it's looking for... Okay, in order to do pretty much anything, you're gonna need to do, this. IOStream. I think that'll get me something. Yes, there we go. Okay, so, what does the IOStream here mean? Pound include just kind of means you're grabbing a file and you're going to use stuff from it for now. That's all you need to know for now. IOStream, well, it kind of sounds like an iOS, which, don't worry about that bit, but IO and then stream. It's input, output, stream, which stream is not a river or a stream. It's, a data stream, essentially. So input and output streaming. In this case, it's going to be input and output from a console, which is what you saw me open up earlier. So at this point, it's exactly the same as the previous example. So I hit debug, and it just pulls up this. I hit enter, or any key at all, and it will do that. This is your debug output window. It's actually really, really important. Most of the time, not right now. So I'm going to hit close. Ooh, Autohide. That could come in handy. Yeah, just hit Autohide. That'll work. Because getting these things to come back up after you've closed them. Aside from output, which always pops up every time you hit this button, or these build things, which you'd probably find those from this menu. I just added them to my custom thing, so compile or any of those things will probably bring it up, but it's not incredibly important for right now. Okay, so C++ is essentially, well, for those of you who didn't like math, it's a lot of math. It's a lot of math, and basically everything is numbers. But we're going to break it down as much as I I'm going to try, so I'm going to try to break it down as much as possible. So, what we have are variable types, you know, like the x, the y, and, you know, find x, draw an arrow to x. Never mind. But, you know, you've got variables like in math. For example, well, this is C++, which means all variables have a type. So do functions. Well, they have a return type, which this is the main function. A function does stuff. That's what you can think of a function as. It's something that it's a mathematical function, essentially. Well, it can do other things aside from just math. Well, actually, I suppose it does a lot of math usually. But anyway, that's a function. We'll get into what a function is later. Just know that this is the main function, so if I refer to main function, it's this. Void is its return type. If you see a function and it has void next to it, you don't have to return anything, or if you want to, don't worry about return either. We're talking about data types. Void is, just kind of, don't worry about it for right now. But there are variable types. Most of them are numbers, so we're going to start with numbers, like integer. You'll notice this little red squiggly here. That doesn't mean I spelled pause wrong. Well, okay, if you see anything underlined and it's got comments, which I'll mention later as well, I have spell check on here, which kind of is a bit of an issue. But anyway, normally, red squiggly for you guys is going to mean that something is wrong, or the compiler is basically yelling at you saying you screwed up here and I may or may not tell you why. In this case, I already know why this is highlighted, and it's because I haven't done anything up here. So that'll go away as soon as I name something. Number, and then semicolon. You put a semicolon at the end of almost everything. Almost. Notice it's not at the end of this. And these are sort of a scope operator thing. And this just tells it whatever's inside here belongs to this. Don't worry about them. Just kind of throw them in there and use them. But that's, you know, a number. Integers are ints. Any number that you can think of without a decimal. So 1 is an int, 1,000 is an int, 255 is an int. However, anything with a point or a dot or a decimal point of any kind, so 1.00, technically not an int. And if you try to put 1.00, so if you try to do this, the compiler won't yell at you. However, if you do try to compile this, it will compile, don't worry. However, it will give you a warning saying you're truncating the type, or converting in... It's... no. Hell, I'll show you. See? Yeah. I really probably shouldn't have hit that. Hold on, give me a second here. Stay. Thank you. Okay, so you'll see this. This is a warning. Warnings will not stop it from compiling, but they're a way of your compiler telling you, are you sure you want to do this? See, okay, maybe, okay, can you maybe unclick this, or... Okay, maybe this comes back up and clear all. Okay, that didn't do exactly what I wanted, but let me just quickly redo this and you'll see what I was talking about again. Okay, so down here we have this, which you also might not be able to... Okay, well I can't make it any bigger, I'm sorry. So... maximize the video or something. But anyway, warning, don't worry about the numbers, they're just for lookups. The equal sign, line 6 of the .cpp main, so you can match these things up. Conversion from double to int. Don't worry about a double. I'll talk about it in a minute. Possible loss of data. That's what I meant. Truncating of data type. So ints don't do decimals. That's what you need to know. That's what an int is. Okay. So that's that. Let me get rid of this. Wow, that was really helpful for the output thing. Hide, do the auto hide for just about everything. It makes your life so much easier. You can get back to it easy and it's never in your way. Okay. My hand slipped. Okay, so it just mentioned double. Here's double. Num D. I have usually pretty good naming conventions unless I'm doing something like this, in which case thingy and main and num, they're terrible. Always do proper naming of your variables. Make sure your variable names are as descriptive as possible without making them an entire paragraph long. Which, by the way, in case you were wondering, Visual Studio, and as most IDEs as far as I know, will continue on scrolling forever. Just so you know. So if you wanted to make a variable name, you know, a paragraph long, you would never actually have to hit enter or anything, and you could literally just keep typing forever. You'd be fine. It wouldn't do anything. Or wouldn't screw anything up. But it would make it a nightmare to try to write this out. So, I'm going to keep my name short, you keep yours descriptive, and to the point. Usually you keep all the verbs out of it, so you'll figure it out, I guess. Okay, float is a very common data type. That was supposed to say numf, so we're gonna go with muff. I don't know. Okay, and a few more data types. I'm gonna just sort of God, these are horrible data types. That'll do us for now. I'm gonna go over these. Okay, so double is a double precision number. That's what the double's for. Basically, it's twice as precise as this. A float is roughly 7 digits. So 1 million would be a float. Double is more than 7 digits. It's like, technically it's 16, so it's 15. Yeah, whatever. It's 2 bytes, so no, it's 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Don't know about what a byte is just yet. Bytes and stuff like that we'll get to eventually, maybe. You don't really need them for too much. Bytes and stuff like that, it's mostly for networking, which I will cover eventually, but not anytime soon. You don't need to know about that, although it is pretty cool, and it's actually not that hard to do. You gotta know a lot of other stuff first, or you're gonna get lost really quickly. So we have ints, doubles, floats, bools. Float is pretty quick usually, and it's not too difficult. Useful shortcut for stuff. Whenever you declare a variable, this is declaring a variable. I'm declaring num of type int here. Initialize means to set a value, or yeah, okay. That's initialize, I think. Okay, yes, that is initializing the variable num of type int to a value of 0. Okay, it's not too bad. 0.9. There we go. Okay, that's initializing numd of type double to value 0.9. Now, if you try to do something like that, the compiler will again yell at you because by default, anything with a decimal is of type double. Put it in a float. You could try to cast it, which you don't need to worry about casting it. However, for now, just suffice, this works. Yeah, just tossing an F on there turns it from a double to a float, and try to keep the number below 16 digits. Or keep it at a maximum of 7 digits when you put the F on it. Okay. Boolean, or bool, is actually usually pretty easy for concepts-wise, especially when you see what I'm going to initialize it to. If I could spell worth of crap. Okay. True or false, that's Boolean. It's that easy. It is true or false. I wish it was only so easy. Okay, technically, that's all it is. However, we will get to if statements and things like that later. But for now, just know that Boolean means true or false, and we can do logic with it, which, you know how it does logic. It's a computer, it's actually math. Now, char is actually really easy as well. Char is actually short for something you probably have already figured out. Character. As in, let me pick a character that you can't mistake. M. That is a character. So, that's all the basic data types that you need to know for now. Now I'm going to get rid of all these. Okay, so for now, let's get you up and running. Start off, code this whole thing. It's pretty easy. You can put it all in one .cpp, hit debug, and hopefully, if everything's correct and you get no red squigglies or anything, it should compile and it'll just bring up, you know, what I've shown you like 3 or 4 times at this point. If it goes away, it's fine. For me, it's just because I have like 2 or 3 copies of this thing open or something. Now, I mentioned what this meant, IOStream. Now I'm going to show you why we use that for this beginning bit here. STD, it does not stand for sexually transmitted disease. It stands for standard. And it's a namespace, and all that is way beyond the scope of this beginning video. However, the important thing you need to know right now for consoles is cout, or console out. Then you do this, which means outstream, or push out. Push out as into the screen in this case. You can use a single quote like I did before. I have custom settings to auto do the extra quote for me, so you're probably going to have to do that twice or something. However, a single character can only do so much, so as you've seen down here with the double quotes, if you want to put anything more in there, you do double quotes. And I'm going to do the standard hello world. Yes, you've seen that a million times, I'm sure. But it is moderately important. Or at least conceptually, you need to know how to do this. Standard hello world app. Or, well, not an app yet, but, you know, it's something. So, compile this, and you get hello world in a second here. And apparently it's decided to not, you know, put it out to this thing. Okay, here we go. Hello world, press any key to continue. Pause does all the press any key to continue for me. I didn't code it. Pause, SystemPause does that all for you. So, hello world, if you can get this far, you're doing fantastic. And I, out of habit, always hit enter when I see that hit any key to continue. Okay, well, printing stuff out to the screen is not terribly fun, or cool, or useful at this point. But it is a start. And it doesn't have to be hello world. You could say, Maverick games is awesome, and if I misspell anything, go ahead and be a grammar Nazi and, you know, correct me, but I won't care. See, you can change it to whatever you want. It's a string, which is the only other main data type that I'm going to talk about for right now. But in order to use strings, you're going to need to include them, which means doing one of these little things. Ignore the typos. There will be a lot of them. String. You might see a lot of these. Just pick string. It'll work for now. Also, just to make my life easier and yours too, because you can do this, just type this. You don't have to know what it's for. Just do it. Because now you can get rid of these. Because, well, I'll explain it eventually. But for now, for all these console apps, just do this. Okay? It's pretty easy. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is how to, you know, not highlight everything. Great. Okay, we're going to talk about strings. So, oh god, I can't type today. String. String is another data type, and it's essentially a character array. Arrays you don't have to worry about, just for now. No, it's a string of characters. So, you know, that. Minus the parentheses in things. So, you get string. I'm gonna call it, Gully. And I'm gonna initialize it to a string of, put these quotes in there, thank you, VS, the blah blah da blah, is cool. Okay. So, again, remember the semicolon. Usually, if the output window or compiler tells you you're missing a semicolon, usually you are. Not always, but usually. In the cases of the not always, it's probably a circular include, which we'll cover eventually. For now, you just need to know what data types are, and more or less how to do stuff with them. I guess while we're at it, let's do another quick thing here. String of guy equals pi from main. I'm not in Maine, by the way. State-wise, Texas. Not important, but, you know. Okay, so here is some math that you could... oh. Yeah, there are certain keywords that are difficult to get around. Equals Gully plus, I was about to hit equals, space, plus, I think this will work, and then there, and then, see out, it doesn't have to be right next to it, that just, you get tired of hitting space all the time eventually. Final output, you might end up typing a lot of this more than I do. Don't worry, it's just plugins mostly. Oh, which, by the way, speaking of plugins, there's a lot you can get. Most of them are, oh crap, my computer's being slow today. Extensions and updates. This is where you can find most of them. Here's all the ones I've got. Death theme is just my current theme. Don't worry about it. Code alignment, code made, brace completer, Git, don't worry about it. Hide main menu gets rid of that for me. Indent guides, very important. IntelliCommands is how I have stuff show up. I think it'll work still. I don't know. No, I'll show you in a second. Italicized comments. We haven't talked about comments yet, but we will in a second. Mouse navigation, don't worry about it. Visual Systax, great program, but costs money since you're on tutorials. You're not quite ready for spending money yet. I think that's about it. Oh, and if you really want to make your Visual Studio pretty, you get the theme editor and you go wild. Make it all pink for all I care. So that's all of the ones I've got installed. Visual Systax is probably doing most of the autocomplete stuff for me. And so there's some math, and this should do fine. I think it'll yell at me. There you go. Visual Studios is cool and high from main. So there you go. Okay. So that's how to do math with strings, which, you know, kind of cool, but not incredibly important. You can also do math if you really don't want to get your calculator out, but you know what your math problem is. You just don't feel like doing the math in your head or something. You could define blah, blah, blah. I'm just gonna hit random numbers. That probably is too big, but I don't really care. And this is a terrible idea. No, it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna do cout of doing this. This probably won't go well, but that's okay. This is gonna probably become some sort of obscenely large number or something, but you know, you don't have to do that just there. I just want to see what that is, because I have no idea what the hell those numbers are gonna end up being. Okay, what number did I end up with? Come on. 2.4 times, oh god. Okay, so it was some crazy number, but you know, there you go. You can see math is pretty easy. So you can get GH equal to HU minus GT, something like that. Oh, yeah, I forgot to put a type name on there. How dare you let me do that? Okay, so, you know, you could do this, and then it'll... You don't need those to output numbers. You can just do it this way, and it'll still work. It'll give me some other number that I have no idea what it is. But, okay, come on, pull up. There we go, see? So, if you know your numbers, but you don't feel like doing the math in your head, and really don't want to get a calculator out, you can do it this way. Okay, this video is getting really long. I was going to try to make it under half an hour. That didn't go well. So, in closing, obviously I've shown you cout already. Okay. So, what do you think we would do to input from a console? Essentially, what you'd think, cin, which looks bizarre. Okay. But you also need the other direction for the arrow thingies. Sorry, I've been programming for a while, and I don't remember what they're called. Okay, but since I have no variables, I'm going to have to backspace this for a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to call it int dob and cin dob cout My date of birth is space. You're gonna wanna do that again. DOB, and then L. Okay, so I think that'll work. Okay. Okay. Now, stupid me, I forgot to ask myself to enter my date of birth, but 1001190, and there you go. So, if you wanted to input anything, now you know CN is a great way to input anything. Of course, there is, limits and stuff, but hopefully with this, you can get something moderately interesting happening. Next, we'll talk about loops and probably control systems. But this is just an introductory thing. Variable names, CN, Cout, and SystemPause for 2010 and up. Okay, so that's sort of the beginning of C++. That's how everyone starts, I think. Not too bad, right? I think. Assuming, you couldn't get past the first 5 minutes and you're stuck at the debug screen wondering what the hell did you do wrong, in which case, let me know, and I will try to help you. See you around.